Hi, I'm Shane Hines, Onnit's Director of Fitness Education, and I'm going to share with you a secret gem from the animal kingdom that will improve performance and minimize the potential for pain and injury. It's called the Deadbug. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. When we hear the word Deadbug, most of us think, but it is also a very effective exercise for strengthening your core. And not simply in the six-pack sense, rather the broad range of muscles that make up the core while providing additional support for our lower back and breathing mechanics. The development of this meaningful strength also improves posture and balance, all of which enhances performance in your chosen activities and moving through life. The Deadbug works muscles crucial to your core, including rectus abdominis, the six-pack, the obliques on the side, and your transverse abdominis, deep core that are also super important for rotation. Along with those are muscles just as important to structural stability and strength that we don't often think of as part of our core, but they are the diaphragm, your breathing muscles, and the muscles that make up lower back, your pelvic floor, and the hip flexors. So the Deadbug is a relationship between a nice neutral spine and what your pelvis is doing, and then all of your core muscles activating and integrating together to create stability. What we're doing with the Deadbug is we're laying down on the ground. This gives you maximum points of contact on the ground so that you have a better sense of what is happening with your pelvis when it's moving and being able to maintain a nice neutral spine while you're doing it. We're training good position first, and then from there, you get to take it out into the world, into the wilds of the animal kingdom, and trying other different kinds of movement while being able to retain stability through the core. So let's get to it. We're gonna head onto our back so that we have that good contact with the ground. First, we're looking for a nice long spine. Long spine is having your back flattened out and relaxed against the floor. Remember, your neck is part of your spine, so if you find your neck is cranked, you want to think about tuck that chin in and elongate through the crown of your head. You can take a towel or a small blanket behind your head to help if that's difficult. From there, we're going to look at your pelvic position, and that pelvic position is going to be a slight tuck under. Easy way to do this is to think about your lower back being flat on the floor. As you flatten your back on the floor, you're automatically starting to activate some of the tissues and core muscles that we are going to be challenging to improve that stability. From here, we're then going to take your feet up off of the ground and just take it one at a time. We're going to hold a 90 degree with each of the legs. So we're going to think about the knee being directly over the hip, knee directly over the hip, and then from here, the heel shooting straight out from the knee, rather than knees in. This takes that knee to activate off of your core. So we're gonna have them directly over top. We're gonna start there so that you have your hands to help with stability as you're getting your legs into position. Then the hands come off the ground, and we're gonna do a bent arm variation here, where you're gonna think same 90 degree angle as what's happening with your legs on both sides. And at this point, this is our basic Deadbug position. You hold this for a little bit of time, you are going to get plenty challenged. So let's say you're going to hold for 30 seconds. All right, I'm just here. What am I doing? You're gonna continually be thinking about flattening out your lower back onto the floor without raising your pelvis or your legs up off of the ground. And you're also going to be thinking about lengthening through the spine. And the last is, you notice how I'm talking? I'm nice, I'm relaxed. What will happen is when you're in the Deadbug position, people will start to brace and hold their breath when they're being challenged. You should be able to stay in this position, maintaining the activation through the core while still being able to breathe, being able to talk, and be nice and relaxed. It's kind of a dual role, relaxed but activated. And that is your primary Deadbug. Now, what does the dead bug look like when we start to progress it? Because there are all kinds of variations that we could be doing with this. And I'm gonna give you 3 solid progressions that you can continue to work with and challenge yourself as that ongoing activation gets stronger and stronger. So let's get back on the ground, on our back, into our dead bug position. Now, the number one thing in progressing this that we're going to be increasing is the lever that we're working with. We're elongating the levers. So as I start to reach a limb away from me, this starts to challenge my ability to hold the basics of what we talked about before, maintaining the lower back on the ground, being able to continue to breathe while we have a nice, long, relaxed, integrated spine. So what we're gonna do here is we're just going to focus on tapping a heel from a bent leg and fingers from a bent arm. But we're gonna have them on the opposite side. This engages the diagonal nature of our core muscles in a really important way because it's not all just crunching back and forth. The core has this corset of muscles that work both forward and back and rotationally as well. So we're going to go opposite limbs, heel down, fingers down. So from the standard dead bug position, thinking about pelvis, spine, breath, and I am going to tap and touch, come back, tap and touch and come back. And when I come back, I'm not over crunching when I'm doing this. I'm maintaining elbow over shoulder, knees over hips. From there, I can continue back and forth. I can move slow, I can move fast, but I suggest you do so slow to start. For our next variation, we are going to extend out further from our standard dead bug position. So from here, I'm going to think with my left leg and my right arm, and I'm going to extend out from opposite sides, staying connected, and then draw them back. The further that I move my limbs out away from my center, the more it's going to challenge my core stability. So I'm thinking about creating that length. Has my back come up off the ground, or am I keeping it engaged? Have I found myself starting to brace and tense while I'm trying to do this? Or am I able to continue to maintain breath? Remember, the spine is long, so while you're doing this exercise, you may think you have everything else in line, but your head is cranked as you're trying to do this. So maintain that nice, long spine, full extension. Our third variation is now taking the bend out and going straight with our limbs. This won't be quite as easy as it looks because just holding your legs and arms up can be challenging. And from here, we're not gonna have the gradual extension of the limb out. This one is full on as my left leg goes down and my right arm goes down, back up. It is the going down and the coming back up, which will be challenging as well. All the while maintaining low back to the ground, nice long spine, being able to breathe. You can tell this is challenging because as I'm talking, my voice is starting to quaver, which means that all of those core muscles, including the diaphragm which is connected to them, is being challenged. Now, depending where you're at with your core integration and the stability that you have access to, it may be a bit of a jump to move from one progression to the next. So think about a bit of a shortcut, a little assist on the side as you move and explore working through these different variations. And that is doing one limb at a time. Having only one limb going at a time makes a massive difference in terms of where you have contact and where you're working from. One limb at a time, or some additional support on the ground. Let's take a quick look as an example. Starting out from my standard dead bug position, say I want to work with extending my limbs out from that bent position. I could just go and work, all right, I'm just gonna challenge one limb and then bring it back. Challenge the opposite limb. Now, because we're working towards doing alternate limbs on opposite sides as you're working, work through that same pattern as you do this. And then the other limb. Okay, I've got that. And then the other limb. All right, I've got that. Another thing that you can do is have some slight contact. So the legs generally are a lot harder to do than the arms. You can have a little bit of contact where the opposite leg is going to be down. You're going to extend out. You're going to come back. Extend here with your arm, come back. And then bring your leg up, do the opposite, a little bit of contact, just light. You still want to be staying engaged. Extend, back, extend, back, and through. That same principle will apply to arms extended and legs extended up as well. Just do one at a time. Give yourself a little extra support when you need it. Now, because many of us aren't necessarily engaging and activating the core the way its potential is supposed to, we may have to wake it up a little bit. And here are some drills that you can do to start to feel what your body needs to be doing, even though it's just laying on the floor completely flat. It's a lot more work than it looks doing that. So we'll prep for it. This first one is the kneeling child's pose to up dog. We're gonna go on all fours with your hands and your feet and your knees, and we're going to sit back into a child's pose, going back nice and long, and we're just thinking about getting all the way back, sitting deep into the hips, getting a nice long spine, and extending those arms. From here, we're then going to come up, push through the pelvis into an up dog, and extend. Come back down, engage, go back, and up. So we're finding, first and foremost, length through the spine, both through flexion and extension. Here, flexion as I bend, and here, extension as I open up. This starts to open up that front line of my core and those muscles that are going to be getting engaged along the way. This drill starts prepping us for the extension of limbs and the torsional force that is being called on through our core and our torso. So we're gonna head into a quadruped position on all fours. Now at this point, I'm going to take my knees back a little bit further as if I'm going to do a push-up from my knees. From here, I'm going to take my leg, in this case my left leg, and I'm going to bring it up next to my left arm. That creates nice length on the opposite side. From here, I'm going to press through my right arm to start to create rotation. I'm not too worried about doing excessive rotation. This is a lot less about the rotation through the spine and more about the rotation that's happening from our core down into our hip. So I can use a hand on that bent leg and create a little bit of a twist, thinking and feeling from my hips. Then I'll bring my hands down, take the knee back, go over on the opposite side. From there, again, this whole long line is what I'm looking at and the connection of my core into my hip. So I then start to twist towards the bent leg and I can use my hand. And rather than trying to do this in my spine, I'm thinking about down here, actually pressing with that opposite side, that left side hip towards the right knee and the floor, twist, and back. Sometimes you don't feel focused and alert in the gym, and your workout can suffer as a result. New Alpha Brain Pre-Workout was designed specifically for athletes and gym goers and supports focus, power, and endurance. It's the ultimate way to charge up your mind and body. Use the coupon code GETONNIT to get 10% off Alpha Brain Pre-Workout at Onnit.com. Now, let's get back to the video. Another great drill for understanding where your pelvis is, which naturally engages your core muscles, especially the deep core muscles, are pelvic circles. Now what we can do is another great drill where it's the pelvic circles done on the floor, known in Pilates as a pelvic clock. So in this case, I'm going to lay down on my back, And I'm going to keep my feet in line with my hips. So it's a little bit narrower, not quite as wide. A little bit narrower, feet flat on the ground. And from here, I'm gonna take my hands and I'm just gonna place them on my lower belly and just to the top of my pubic bone, where I'm gonna be having a feel for the tilt in the pelvis. And from here, I'm going to think about pushing up into my fingers from below, and then relax back down. And then I'm going to tilt, where I'm gonna take my back off of the ground and then back down. Tilt up, down, and back. And remember, we're really working on this coming from the pelvis, the hip range. Don't use your feet to drive up. Really just think about tuck, and your hands will provide that feedback. The next one is going side to side. So thinking about lifting, in this case, my right side hip bone up and back down. Lifting the left side hip bone up and down. Now what'll happen is you may find that your legs start to move. If your legs are moving, that's you picking your butt off of the floor. We actually want to lift the pelvis. So think about driving through with your knees, push as that hip comes up. Push as that hip comes up. You can have your hands on your hip bones so that you can actually feel it. Combine all of that into your clock, which is a circle. So from here we go tuck, and then hip, and then lower back off the ground, and then hip. So if down here was 6 o'clock, up here was 12, over here we got 3, and over here we got 9, we're then going to go 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Rock. 6, 9, 12, 3. And then you slowly start to smooth that out. Tilt. And what you're doing is essentially thinking like a bowl that is rotating before coming to a full, clean stop. And then go in the opposite direction. For this, you want to think about the Deadbug as an activation. It is doing an immense amount of work to activate a lot of the smaller core muscles that we generally don't utilize or utilize effectively. So it is a great exercise at the beginning of your workout. Having done a mobility warm-up, gotten yourself going, you're about ready to get into your bigger exercises, do some specific drills for those exercises and incorporate the Deadbug. That will help activate the core muscles that you're going to want in order to support any of the weights that you're going to be lifting along the way, or the sophisticated funky body positions you may find yourself in, depending on what you're doing, if it's body weight. With that, you could do 3 rounds of 30 seconds just to wake it up and get it going. Now, the incorporation of the Deadbug within a workout, yeah, you can. It would work as a great intra-set drill that you can do if you're looking to work your core a little bit more when you're going through moderate weight or more basic exercises. So for example, if I'm going to be doing some bent over rows, or I'm going to be doing some push-ups, or perhaps I'd be working some lunges, those types of drills, if I were to work intraset, but I want to get some more core activation in there, I would use the Deadbug. I would use the Deadbug in between those. I wouldn't use it in an area where you're going, all right, I'm doing big overhead lifts or heavy squats. You're going to want to make sure that you are not overly fatigued in those. You need your core working for you in that case. Now, outside of a workout, you can also incorporate these. You can think about starting them off at the beginning of your day before you do anything else. You roll out of bed, you do some Deadbugs. This will help engage and activate good postural muscles that then support you throughout the rest of your day. On the other hand, if you find that you tend to get really fatigued doing dead bugs, you can do them at the end of your day. If you take the dead bug drills and work through them 15 to 30 seconds, doing 3 to 5 rounds, work the positions, work the varying extensions, then you'll know that after that, you're gonna be going to bed. You're gonna be laying down, and you can allow the muscles to relax and to recover through the night in order to have a little bit more energy from it the next day. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. You can also click on the link below to read a full article on the dead bug at the Onnit blog.